The second model for 287G that I think is surprisingly underutilized, but very important and has great potential to contribute to immigration law enforcement is the highway patrol model. And in the study, we look at Colorado in particular, although it's also been being used in Missouri and Georgia and Arizona and Alabama. Colorado is crisscrossed with major highways, interstate highways, that are used by alien smuggling organizations to take people from the southwest border area to their final destination in places like Chicago or meatpacking plants in the Midwest, or any number of other destinations. Colorado had a very serious problem with traffic accidents on the highways and lots of fatalities because the smuggling organizations are packing as many people as they can get into vans. Often the vehicles themselves are unsafe. The smugglers have no regard for the safety of either the passengers or other people who happen to be on the highway at the same time. And a state legislator was on a ride-along with a state trooper in Colorado and witnessed one of what happened to be 4 accidents that week with fatalities, all of them involving alien smuggling loads. And so the legislature decided to create a special immigration enforcement unit on the state highway patrol that would receive the 287G training and authority and focus their efforts simply on enforcing traffic laws on the highways and then having the ability to deal with the alien smuggling that they were encountering on those highways without having to wait for ICE to do it for them. And they're doing routine traffic work. They're pulling vehicles over for failure to signal or no registration or unsafe vehicle or whatever, sometimes accidents. And when they encounter alien smuggling or other individuals who happen to have criminal histories, then they're able to deal with those. And the Colorado Patrol Immigration Enforcement Unit has arrested over 800 people at this point for immigration violations that they encountered simply by doing traffic enforcement on the highways. And they decide where they're going to focus their efforts based on what they know about smuggling organizations and risk assessment and intelligence they get and so on in their own experience. They've also investigated dozens of alien smuggling rings and made an effort to actually dismantle those organizations, prosecutions that the U.S. Attorney's Office simply didn't have time to do itself. And the result has been that they told me a few weeks ago when I met with them in Denver that since they enacted or implemented their 287G agreement, there have been no alien smuggling related fatalities on Colorado highways since then. So, knock on wood. It's very difficult to say cause and effect, but I think it would be hard to argue that the program hasn't had an effect on highway safety in Colorado. And also assisting with the general immigration law enforcement mission of trying to dismantle the smuggling organizations, which ICE, frankly, has not devoted enough attention to since its inception. The third type of agreement out there is what ICE calls a task force program. I prefer to call it an investigative program. Unfortunately, as we know, not all criminals happen to be in jail at any point in time, and so are not necessarily going to be identified through a 287G program in a jail. And so about 24 of the jurisdictions who are using 287G are using it in criminal investigations and to support the routine police and law enforcement work that goes on in their jurisdiction. These agencies have identified specific types of crime problems they have in their area that may be unique to their area, but may not be a priority for people sitting in the Department of Homeland Security front office, and so are not going to be addressed by ICE. And this program gives these jurisdictions the opportunity to address them on their own. An example is the 287G is used by drug and gang task forces in Northern Virginia. I think the proliferation of criminal street gangs with large numbers of illegal aliens is pretty well known. I think you have a copy of another study that I did on this problem. and also mentions how they have used 287G to address it and reduce gang crime and crime overall as a result. In Florida and South Carolina, they're using it to address problems with identity theft and illegal employment. In North Carolina, they have a huge problem with drunk driving and illegal aliens driving while intoxicated, unlicensed, etc. The way it's often used, not in every case, but in many cases, for example, Prince William and Collier County and Frederick County, what the local police force or sheriff's office does is they set up often a criminal alien unit within their force or their office with specially trained officers who can then support all of the other units on the force, whether it's a domestic violence unit, traffic, detectives doing drug and gang cases, and use the immigration law tools in the furtherance of those investigations or in tracking down fugitives or whatever. So it gives them a lot more flexibility, and there are some examples of these types of programs in the study and how exactly they're doing it. The value is that the local agencies can decide for themselves what works for them and how it's going to be implemented and get support from ICE in the meantime. And what I hear from all of these agencies is having a 287G program has done wonders for their relationship with ICE because they understand the process better, they can work together more effectively, and it benefits both agencies. They're able to identify suspects who would otherwise have eluded them or not been subject to arrest. And so it's just a very helpful cooperative relationship. The biggest part of it for them is having access to the immigration databases so that they can identify people who maybe have used multiple aliases or otherwise just they wouldn't have figured out who these people were and what they've been responsible for or what they're doing now. That's harmful to the community.